You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Running Wild Podcast. I'm your co-host, Rich. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Runz.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to remind you guys, before we get started with anything, that you guys are listening to us from the Last Word on Sports.com radio channel on iTunes. You should pop over to lastwordonsports.com, check out articles on tons of sports aside from wrestling. But you can also click on the wrestling page, check out my articles over there, and you can also listen to our website, our podcast from the Spreaker link that is on lastwordonsports.com. And you can also find us on Stitcher. You can send us your emails with comments or questions to runningwildpodcast@gmail.com, and you can follow us over on Twitter at runningwildlwos. With that out of the way, how do we even get started?
Well, I mean, there's probably only one thing necessary to be talked about this weekend.
That would most likely be the WWE Network coming out with the new collections, right?
Well, that was last week, but
yeah.
Sure.
Well, we didn't talk about that, so all right. Well, all jokes aside. Well, first of all, I really do like the collections thing. We didn't talk about it on air.
Okay. I was going to say, I know we talked. Like, wait a minute. We talked about that.
Yeah, no. So network, they finally got smart and they started to do things like group together. They have this new section, collections, and they just have like best matches and clips from. They have Brock Lesnar. They have Stone Cold versus like the best Stone Cold McMahon stuff. And it's great because some of it's like 8 minutes. Like some of it's not long. It'll just be like a awesome backstage thing. So it's not like you're sitting there and you have to watch like 5 hours of stuff. You can just funny memory.
You don't have to watch like a Brock Lesnar versus Bob Holly match that was like pointless. You know, you watch a little bit of the clips and then maybe a match, but it's not just that or just this.
I tell you, they're finally getting it together. I mean, I still don't like the way that what's it called? Ride Along is going.
It's just too quick. Although this week I did feel like it was a little bit longer, even though it was just 20 minutes. But it was a good episode this week. Sheamus Barrett, right? And then the ridiculous combination of R-Truth, Summer Rae, and what's her name? Renee Young.
I really hope that's just a crew that all the time goes together.
Here is my theory. The WWE 100% pays these guys definitely something, right? Like a little bit extra to do this, right? Something. Right? You gotta assume that, right?
Okay,
so,
all right.
I guarantee that, like, if maybe there's a sign-up sheet, maybe they ask people, but I guarantee anything that they say, R-Truth is like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, yeah, I got it. I'm in.
I got it.
Why not? Like, he's just a hustler. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll do all that dumb stuff and make mad money. Why not?
I got an album dropping soon. You might as well get some more money in.
Yeah, like, he gets to promote stuff. He gets to just talk. Like, he's hilarious. So, like, why not? You know, like, there's a reason that the same people keep doing these shows. Like, they have to agree to it. It's not because they're the most entertaining or, you know, like, they like doing these things.
Did you see him on Total Divas?
Oh, with the cats? Yes.
First of all, I mean,
absolutely.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
No, I know that more people are scared of spiders. I'm scared. I'm very scared of spiders. Okay. So, first of all, the hilarity of how afraid of cats he is, which are, you know, like, I can.
He was attacked, man.
I can I can understand. Yeah. There's so much to talk about here. All right. First of all, like, I know people who are scared of dogs, right? And that makes sense to me, right? The idea of being scared of cats is absurd until you hear his story, where then he tells you that as a small child, he was attacked by a bunch of cats and had like his fingers chewed off or something. I can't even get through the story. When they were doing the action, when he was doing coming out and being like, I can't wait to do this, but no spiders. Like, wouldn't it have even been funnier if he said no cats? Like
he was just legit.
No kitties. Because why did they change that? Because if the whole thing about him is being is the idea that he is always, he was scared of something like that to the point where he was talking about it so much. Like, did Vince go? Like, I want to hear like a meeting between like backstage. And he's like, "Are you scared of anything? What do you think, Archer?" And he's like, "Well, I'm really scared of cats, Vince." And he's like, "Cats? That's ridiculous. Nobody will believe that. Let's go with spiders." Like, if they would just let him talk about why he was scared of cats. I don't know. Of course, they're never going to push him like I want them to push him. So,
I mean, his segments with Goldust are pretty evident of that. But and another thing, like, isn't it, kind of racist? Like Booker T and Goldust. Now it's the other African American guy with dreads that they have, and they're just going to put him with Goldust. Just like, hey, that worked one time. Oh, we have a guy who looks just like that. Yeah, all right, boom.
I mean, I think you can write that off to Goldust being racist. Goldust is like, man, my best tag team was with it. Yeah, like I feel like Vince could just be like, oh, yeah, that was Dustin's idea.
Yeah, clearly it's just the comedic aspect with R-Truth, but it's just a funny coincidence.
Speaking of racism,
you hear that? This has nothing to do with racism. But,
no, not at all. But people are saying that it's racist.
Yeah, because people are idiots.
Titus O'Neil, on air during the Bryan send-off, which we'll get to in a second, he grabbed Vince and pulled him back. And
I said this to you yesterday when you brought it up. Like, I was watching it on the network, and I saw this happen. And I was like, that's pretty awesome that Titus O'Neil is on that level with Vince, that he can joke around like that. Because Titus was clearly laughing. It looked like Vince was laughing, And then I see Titus O'Neil suspended, and 90 days later shortened to 60. But, like, what the hell? For that? Really? That's a little extreme.
And what are they calling it? Like conduct?
Unprofessional conduct.
I mean,
he clearly chose a bad moment to do that. Like a guy just retired, and now you're going to pull a rib on the boss. Not the best judgment, but 90 days? That's a scolding. That's punish him by like making him team with Goldust. Like, punish him on the roster, and then let him build himself back up. Now what happens when he comes back from this? He doesn't come back from this. That's what happens. He comes back, and what's going to happen? They're going to bury him.
Yeah, did you hear Batista?
Yeah, 100% right. Do it.
Batista told him just to leave. Like,
yeah.
It's not worth being there anymore.
Ask them for a release. It's over. What are you going to do when you come back? Vince is, I don't know, maybe like, I made an example of him, that's it, now it's over. But that's not the way it's been for the last 20 years. So I don't know.
What I was reading about, Titus does a lot of, kind of promotion for the company. He's kind of like an ambassador for them. And it's just interesting to be so, the idea that you can do drugs and it's fine, but you grab Vince's arm. I don't know. Was it that wrong in the first? Like, is it wrong for him to have done that?
If you had a very somber, well, not somber, but you had a very emotional event at school, and you were walking out of the auditorium in front of all the kids and their parents.
Okay, and then you
grab the principal's arm and like
Bobby, what are you
square
doing?
danced or whatever. Wouldn't he or she react in some stern manner? 90 days is extreme, but punish him. Like, keep him off Raw punish him for a month. Let him like the WrestleMania. Come on, man, that's foul. Let him get a WrestleMania check. Let him be at WrestleMania. Let his kids be at WrestleMania. Let him do the Make-A-Wish and all the kid stuff. Like, that's stupid.
So weird.
That's
so weird that it
happened.
Like
it looked like they were all laughing. It looked like they were all laughing. Good one, you got me. Now that's it. And then just like, oh no, I got to make a statement. That can't ever happen again. Now, like, Vince loses that. Like, now, if you're in the locker room, how do you ever joke with the guy? That's it.
I mean, he literally, he seems like a crazy old man. Like, this makes him seem like a crazy old man.
Like, oh, that was funny. Now I'm going to punish you. Like, Vince loves a good joke, and he's all about the corny humor and stuff. It made sense to me that Titus O'Neil and him were cool because Titus looks like just a goof, and he'll fuck around with people. He doesn't care who you are. But, that's just bad. I would leave. I would try and get a release. Go to TNA, and you'll be successful because he's not bad. Maybe he goes to TNA and he has a decent run. Then maybe he comes back and when Triple H is in charge.
He should just go to Ring of Honor and knock Moose out and then just take over.
Just be Moose.
He's a better Moose. So just...
Yeah.
He even makes him more like a Moose, like like that thing. Like that.
Moose is a good Moose, but...
No, Moose has that... I love his spear. Moose's finishing move is that spear. He flips. Right? He flips. So, like, it takes so much away from the spear because the entire time he's just trying to concentrate on hitting that.
He just clotheslines the guy in the midsection and does a flip.
All right.
Speaking of... now I forgot what I was just going to say.
Vita Guerrero. Moose? Stokely Hathaway?
Oh, no. Speaking of big guys who are improving, I was... impressed by Braun Strowman. He didn't do much, but the speed at which he was moving seemed up a notch, and just his mannerisms didn't feel as forced to me. He looked the most natural that he's looked to me, like throwing him into the stairs and throwing him into the barricade. Like, I believed his devastation.
I mean, his face is just...
Yeah, he's a weird-looking dude. And the Superman tattoo is really annoying.
He looks like the guy like from Revenge of the Nerds, like the big one, who's like... probably never seen that.
I never saw it, no.
You've never seen Bloodsport? All right. I mean, he's just this like goofy-looking guy from the 80s, like this big goon guy. And he's in a bunch of stuff, like whenever they called for a goon, like he would be there.
Yeah.
And it looks exactly like Strowman, so I can only think of that. I really, and I know I'm nitpicking, I really don't like the tucked-in shirt with the belt. It just looks weird. I don't know what it is. Like, why is your shirt so tight, bro? Like why is it tucked in so tight to your stomach? I don't know. But then again, I have a problem with like tucking in my shirt unless like there are a couple of
necessary.
I have to abide by a couple of rules before I'm just walking around tucking in my shirt like that willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that before I forgot to, since we were talking about big guys. But
you want to talk about everything on Raw, and then
there was nothing else on Raw that mattered. Well, all right. Dolph Ziggler cheated Kevin Owens, so okay, fine. We'll continue. Hopefully, Kevin Owens just kills him.
Weirdest roll up ever, using the ropes, the way he did it, like it was so odd. Like he didn't even. What I thought was odd about
it was a weird positioning.
Yeah, like he had both legs, like, and like he didn't. It almost seemed that it was actually like his leverage. And I'm going to keep nitpicking. I don't care. The leverage that he would have gotten, like he got less leverage by moving his body that way.
Kevin Owens fell backwards. Yeah.
They clearly messed that up. Like, just
I
like,
mean,
not like
whatever.
terribly, but
It
like
didn't bother me though.
just off, like off to the side, whatever, type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but it definitely was something that I noticed and like kind of annoyed me a little bit.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Kofi then used the roll up later, right? Or that was on SmackDown, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was overshadowed by.
Yeah, but then we got the Dudley Boys turning on the Usos, so that was pretty cool. Good to see that.
Oh, that was so. I mean, I was pretty tired randomly on Monday because partying
Randomly.
hard for the Lunar New Year, and I remember I was like falling asleep as the match was like starting. That was going on like just before, and I see. It's hard because I fall asleep and then Raw, like I watch it on the DVR, so it'll just start playing after a while. If it stops at the end, it'll just start again.
Okay.
So I clearly woke up at some point, like at 1 o'clock. And
Yeah,
I remember,
and it was just on.
I think I was dozing during the match, and I said the only thing that's going to make this, I actually
make this make any sense
is if the Dudleys turn.
Yeah.
And then like I guess I fell asleep and then woke up and it was back on.
Wow.
Like right at the same point. I was like, what? And then I saw them turn and I was like, oh, that's like I'm pretty excited, to see like what's going to happen with them. Maybe this is going to give them something to do.
Definitely better heels. I mean, so now I read that he was looking more Bully Ray-ish, so that's phenomenal. Perfect. Exactly what he needed because he's not a big fat guy anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the giant camo, so perfect. And then when he turns on Devon, now, whatever, he's already an established heel.
And they were tweeting. He was tweeting like forget about Bryan and stuff, like, which is
nice.
That's smart. This is really good.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
So
because he's not. He doesn't mean that.
So Daniel Bryan.
That leads right. That's it.
Right?
Yeah, that's it from Raw.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
how do we start this?
One of the better retirement speeches that I've seen. He didn't talk about himself. He just talked about how he got everything because of us and because of the fans, and he got to do all these crazy things. So the theme of his speech, the grateful, like that was phenomenal. And at some point, and you can let me know if you felt the same thing. At some point during this speech, I realized that we were at his last ROH show, where he gave his ROH farewell speech, and his going to WWE speech. And so I was there and watched that in person, and now I'm watching his speech ending his WWE career, and it was just kind of like, what the hell? Like I was in person for this first one, like his going there.
Yeah.
And now I'm already watching his, like, it was just kind of like crazy to me.
One, welcome to being old, where you can watch an athlete transition to another part of his career, and you're like, well, and then he retires before. It's crazy. I mean,
like,
I
usually in wrestling, it's the longevity of it, is the key. Like usually, like in I'm used to it in regular sports for the most part. Guys retire after 3 years in some sports. So like I've seen those things, but it was just like the connection of being there with Bryan the first time, and now like just still feeling that same connection as it ended was just kind of like, what? Wow, just kind of surreal,
I would say that for the most part, when I write my articles for Last Word on Sports, it doesn't take me that long. I mean, what takes me the longest is probably I start it, then I leave it, then I come back, that kind of thing. So this week, basically, somebody was asked to like write half WWE and then somebody else write about his independent career and kind of like what his retirement means and everything and what impact he had. And, because of you, I ended up reading the book. So I had just finished reading the book, like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. This article took me like 3.5 hours to write because I was like poring over.
There was so much stuff. Yeah.
Like I wanted to make sure that I was like super accurate and like, because I remember being at that show and I remember seeing him before that, and he's one of the few guys that I ever like saw a YouTube video of, you know, like before he got to WWE. Like I remember like actually watching like Punk. I didn't see his stuff until he was already in WWE. But Bryan was the first guy that I ever like watched on YouTube, which to me was like unheard of. I never did anything like that.
You're 100% accurate. Like everyone else, I was either catching up on, or like, you know, catching up on Hogan and those guys, Warrior, Savage, blah blah blah, or I was like watching the stuff as it happened. You know, the Austin, the Rock. So I never like. Bryan exactly was the first guy that I ever watched on the independents to go to WWE. Like he was the first one that I ever knew of. You know, I only knew about Punk and ROH afterwards, and that's what drew me to ROH and Bryan and learning about that shit.
Yeah, it's hard. I could probably go back to my tickets because I usually keep everything and like figure out what ROH shows exactly I was at. But that one I knew, you know, and I had seen him before that. And I mean, one of the reasons I think I like Ring of Honor so much was being at that show. You know, I mean, other shows were great and I liked the wrestling and seeing certain guys. And what I always enjoyed about the product was like I could go there and I didn't have to know too much to still be able to get into it.
Yeah, and I believe that show was also Steen and Generico versus the Wolves in the Ladder War. So that was just like, you know, that was the birth of our Steen and Generico love, and you know, like the beginning of Daniel Bryan. Like that shit is it's kind of crazy, you know.
I mean, a lot of what I said was basically how, although Punk was the first like real indie star to show up, they didn't ever mention him being an indie star, did they? Like, it wasn't like when Bryan came out on NXT. Like when they came out on NXT, like they used it as part of Bryan's angle. Like, you know, Miz was like, you know, you're an indie, you know, you're an indie
the same
darling.
Way the same way they're doing with AJ Styles.
Yeah. And I feel like Bryan was kind of like the first guy they did that with. And even though they changed his name, I thought, you know, it kind of, which is ridiculous, but also makes it so much easier to write an article when you can call someone Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, or Danielson, or American Dragon. Like I had so many different nouns I could use there, which is fantastic. But it's just, and you know, I remember like after reading Jericho's book, I thought that we weren't going to see another person who traveled the world and put their time in these random places and made it big. And then you had Punk, you know, Punk and Bryan kind of like with this gap, that there was a gap between like, say, the Jericho guys in that generation and the Punk and Bryan generation, where you didn't have guys like just showing up like that. They were established stars.
There's a gap between Punk and Bryan. Like they weren't back to back. Like Bryan was on the independents for at least 5 more years, because Punk was already a main eventer. Like Punk was already a big deal when Bryan came in.
It's true.
So, you know, that Punk was already in WWE for 5 years at least.
I'm in terms of retirement, like speeches and the way this works, I'm trying to. Okay, this was
so good, and like, all right,
you probably don't remember
the one. I had this discussion with someone at work the other day. Like, yes, Punk may have been better, bigger star, whatever the case, than Bryan, but and yes, everybody loved Punk, but he still never got over to the point that Bryan did.
No, definitely not. I mean, Wrestlemania.
You know what I mean? Like the crowd was just insane for Daniel Bryan. Absolutely insane. And like this was another thing. We were there in the Barclays Center when Cena announced his opponent was Daniel Bryan. And like like to WWE, then his spot in the main event, then his retirement. You know, I don't know. It's crazy, but yeah, that night at the Barclays, that yes chant was bananas, and it was like the first real time we were ever there and got to do it, and
Yeah.
it was just wow. Like I recorded the whole thing. Like, oof.
And they're still doing it. I mean, it's crazy. The Islanders actually ended up tweeting.
Everywhere does it.
You know, like, and I go to Islander games once in a while, and it's crazy. Like, the yes chants are still there. I mean, I'm trying to think back into, like, other retirement speeches I've heard. Like, I mean, and obviously this wasn't live. And for me, I was so young that when Hogan announced that he was going to leave after WrestleMania 8 on, like, primetime wrestling in, like, a small room with Vince, you know, like, it was like a dark room, and they, like, sat, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to be leaving after this. Like, I lost it. But that was, like, different. I was, I don't know, 10, 11, you know, like,
yeah.
It was still real to me, damn it. Then, I mean, Edge's was good. I thought Edge's was, like, you know, heartfelt and everything.
Yeah, Edge's was good too.
Flair's became cheapened, right? Because of, for me, the TNA return.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan, so I normally call out Statwife on this, but the entire day I was dreading watching Raw because I knew I was going to get upset. Like, and I don't normally do that, but it like you said, being at his farewell show, you know, on September 26th, like 2009 or something like that, being there and then watching him deliver that speech and knowing that I wasn't going to get to see him again, that I was going to get to see really, like, he's like what Benoit should have been. Right? This little guy that people liked, you know, like that people rally behind. I mean, because Benoit wasn't that much bigger than him, and they wrestled like the similar style. And
yeah, but Bryan was definitely better on the mic than Benoit ever was.
But I think the only reason that Bryan, like, I think the times that Bryan was good on the mic was when when basically they let, like, when the storyline became like they were like legitimately trying to keep him. It seemed like they were
when
keeping
he
him
actually got time to talk.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like, there was those awkward moments where I think he was the U.S. champion, and then, like, the Bellas were coming after him, and, like, Gail Kim backstage, and he was, like, the love machine or something.
Yep.
And those were weird.
Then he did the Team Hell No.
And the Team Hell No was just him being kind of ridiculous. Like,
yeah, with Kane, just outrageous.
I mean, I think I could probably do that with Kane.
And see, like, the other thing was, like, the yes chant wasn't ever intended to be like, you know, the audience, whatever. Yeah. It was Daniel Bryan being a douche, celebrating his victories to turn him heel. And then the crowd started using it. So again, those are the things that stick, the things that you do naturally, not the things you do to get the, you know, oh, let me see if this sticks with the crowd. You know, it's just the stuff that you do that you just happen to say or just happen to do.
You know,
sticks,
like,
man.
When my hand goes up, you shut up. Isn't that?
Your mouth goes shut. And
that's what it is. Thank you.
Do you know where that's from?
No.
See, there you go.
What do you mean?
I started watching. One day, I was just looking for something to start watching. You know, some show. And I found the Wet Hot American Summer with, like, Bradley Cooper and Paul Rudd and all those guys.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let me check this out. So I start watching it, and like very first scene, like, they have a counselor meeting, and everyone's talking, and the guy goes, "When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut." And I was like, clearly the Miz just watched this TV show, and I was like, oh, no one's gonna watch this. I can say it, and boom. And I was like, that's hilarious.
Like I said, I went through class,
sneaky.
And, like, one kid got it. You know, she was like, "Oh, geez, please don't use this stuff." No, you're right though about kind of going back the organic way that Bryan.
Like, I don't know who else there's been Definitely no one in the past 10 years. But like even beyond that, like that was just so organically connected. Like he was like Dusty Rhodes, like he was the everyman. Everyone felt like they could be Daniel Bryan. He's the underdog. He's the ultimate underdog. And everyone, then everything was piled against him. And everyone wanted to see him overcome it. And they did good things with him. The Occupy Raw is such a huge deal now. And like he was saying, the stuff in Seattle that he didn't even say it meant a lot to him because his dad was there, not even because it happened, because his dad got to see it, and that's the stuff that made me tear up and made me get upset, was just those real moments, those stuff that it's not even about wrestling, it's about something bigger than everything, so those are the things that get to me, because like I said to you, obviously I don't want to see the guy retire, but I've always said whatever is best for his health, do it. That's what he needs to do. So after 2 years, I've kind of come to grips with it. I got to watch the guy in ROH. I got to watch him start in NXT, literally become a whole new person, character, everything throughout his career. He won the U.S. title. He won the IC title. He won the tag titles. He won the world title. He won the WWE world title. So it's not like he didn't do anything while he was there. He had a phenomenal run. Yes, it was cut short, but my God, I enjoyed the hell out of every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, if he wasn't going to be world champion, truthfully, I think I would have grown frustrated with what they were doing with him.
See, and that's that unfairness. Everyone loves him so much that they're willing to just hate anything else WWE does, and that's not fair. He's not always going to be the world champion. He can't always be the world champion.
I mean,
so and it's not like he passed away. He's still going to be on Total Divas probably. He'll still be around when they need him. He'll still be on DVDs and stuff like that. So he'll still be around. It's not like he's gone forever, He'll be back at some point to do something. It would be terrible if he wasn't.
It's crazy. So, I think one of the moments that hit me the most was when he was like, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to be a professional wrestler anymore. And it choked me up and everything. I'm sorry. And then I thought about me, being in front of someone, and tomorrow I'm not going to be a teacher anymore.
Yeah, just a big smile.
I'm going to be look, I like teaching. I love teaching. I love what I do. But the day that I can say tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to be a teacher anymore, that means I'm going to retire. That's going to be amazing.
You literally give your life to wrestling. Literally,
we're getting a live stat. We're getting a live stat feedback from Statwife over here, and Statwife disagrees and feels that apparently, if I can read the face correctly, I will be sobbing when I say that line.
Maybe, but the next day you're going to be super excited.
That's what I'm trying to say. But
you'll be sad when you're leaving, but
I'll probably be sad in September. I'll get September cries.
No, you won't, because by then you'll be like, yes, no lesson plans, no this.
Yes. Yes.
Yo, literally, we had an assembly at school today, and somebody said something, and she was like, "Would you do that?" Yes. Oh. Right? And I looked at the wrestling kid, and I was like, yes. And he was just dying.
That would be amazing.
But I was like, oh man, I wish we could have got that going. That would have been just so awesome.
I guess I could sit here and probably talk about Bryan for hours.
Yeah, I mean, literally one of the greatest of all time. He was great. And everything is a phenomenal. Everything you see is a phenomenal human being.
That whole Connor stuff
that was terrible. But the outcry from everybody, tweeting him saying, "Thank you, you did this for me, you did this for me, you did this." Everybody, Owens, guys who are heels, kind of whatever. But also, I thought this was an insane visual. At the end, when I think it was on the network when Bryan hugs Vince, but to Vince McMahon's right, our left, is Kevin Owens, and to Vince McMahon's left, our right, is AJ Styles. And I was just like, what
That's
the?
crazy.
Like, where am I right now? You know what I mean? Like, the two guys who are front and center next to Vince McMahon are two of the biggest independent stars that I never thought I'd see in WWE ever.
I mean,
like, even CM Punk tweeted a handshake, him and Bryan shaking hands, which was awesome. You know, like, just, I love seeing that because, hey, even though you hate wrestling and you're not a fan of WWE, blah, 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 I'm very glad that you took a minute to publicly, you know, acknowledge Bryan. That was cool.
You know, randomly, we didn't, well, not we didn't get a chance to get to our email last week. And I just want to actually read it out because it's almost oddly prophetic. So the email was sent to us from a friend of the podcast, Chris the Jesus, all the way from California, Los Angeles, and it was this is dated.
That how it is now? It's California in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay.
January 28th. Right, this is over 2 weeks ago. It says, hey guys, you probably already talked about Nakamura, but my question is about Daniel Bryan. With the signing of Nakamura and Styles, it feels like the writing on the wall is that Daniel Bryan will not be returning as an in-ring competitor. Where do you rank Bryan among the greats? Is he Hall of Fame worthy?
Well, last question first, 100%. I mean, even if you want to take the 5 years, 6 years, whatever, however long he was in the WWE by itself, he's still a Hall of Famer. He main evented WrestleMania. He wrestled twice at WrestleMania. He won the U.S., won the IC, won the tag team, won the world, won the WWE world. You know, it's not like this guy was a schmuck when he was in WWE. Then you factor in the overall wrestling aspect of it with ROH and Japan and everywhere he went and everything he did. 100% easily Hall of Famer for, you know, first ballot.
Yeah.
As soon as he's available, as soon as they want to do it, put him in.
What do you think about where he ranks?
Where he ranks is tough because, like, wrestling-wise, like, just in the ring, who's better than him? Not many. There's not, like...
Bret, Macho. I mean, they're there. I mean, they're in the... Yeah. You know, they're all in the same
You have Bret,
room.
Macho, maybe if you want to say Flair, I don't even know if, like, Catch as Catch Can, if Flair's there, and HBK, right? That's it.
Ricky, maybe?
So, yeah, okay. So he's up there. However you want to rate those top five, go ahead. You know, Bryan could be number one. He could be number five. It doesn't matter. They're all the best of the best. And it's, you know, they're all great. They all have a different ability in that ring to also tell the stories. As far as, like, Ricky Steamboat, I never watched. You know, I was too old. I was too young. HBK was great, but now that I'm older, like, I appreciated Bryan more than I ever did anyone because I saw, you know, I felt the connection to him in the ring. I knew what kind of stories he told in the ring, and every time he never let me down, you know. So for me, he's up there, you know, but I don't know. It's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, now I watched a lot of Flair matches. I won't lie, and I mean, you're talking about two different eras, so it's difficult. You know, like
exactly.
it's like comparing. I mean, let's take steroids out of it, but it's like comparing Ruth to Bounds. You know, like better. See, you don't watch the NBA, but it's better now because, like, in the 90s, you had some of the greatest of all time, but they scored 90 points a game or 80 points a game. Now they're scoring 115 points a game, and people's stats are inflated. So, like, the pace of the game has quickened. So Bryan wrestles a much faster pace than Ric Flair and Bret Hart did. You know, Shawn Michaels picked it up as his career went on, but Bryan is so much fun to watch. The dives and the splashes, and he builds to everything. You know, he was a genius in there. I mean, watch. Of course, I'm on my march to WrestleMania, rewatching all the Manias.
I also saw that Bailey tweeted yesterday that it's now time for her to start watching WrestleMania 1. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's super real. Now I'm going to start watching it because Bailey's doing it, even though I did it too. But, you know.
And I'm okay. So the worst thing ever is that past me is mocking, like I'm mocking myself because of Facebook's stupid on this day.
Yeah.
They did stupid on this day. And now, of course, because my big Facebook action every year is during this period when I'm the road to WrestleMania, where I post the pictures and annoy people with the idea that I dedicate my life to watching too much wrestling. So it's just so weird. Like I saw a post from myself that said, like WrestleMania 12, 12 down. And I'm like, oh man, I haven't even finished 7 yet. Like, damn it. And I'm like, it's amazing that only I could piss myself off. Like later on, like, who knew that I could like do something that in the future I would like rubbing it. Past me is rubbing it in future me's face. Like, hey motherfucker, why aren't you caught up yet? And then like
you're tweeting that from last year, like, hey, what's up, man?
And you even see people respond. My mom, of course, 'cause my mom's responding, and it says like, yeah, you're really on a roll. You've been watching a lot of them, and it makes me. I'm like, the comments even make me feel worse about myself right now. Like,
yeah, that's terrible,
man. And I'm like, but I have to watch Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. Like, it's a great story, but I don't know.
Like, I'm just went to put on WrestleMania 1, and I was like, ugh, WrestleMania 1.
Well, you have to watch WrestleMania 1 for at least one thing. Special Delivery Jones's excited promo. He's like, "This is the biggest event in my career." And he goes out and loses. And
I'm gonna have a great match. This is the best moment of my life. And he loses, literally 12 seconds. What a promo, man! What acting skills to have that confidence before you know you're gonna get killed.
He has to be dead, but I don't know. I want to know if he's still somewhere. Jesus. I'd love to go to a convention and go meet SD Jones.
Just ask him about that. Do you remember that promo? Anyway, yeah.
Circling around to, I guess, for Chris, just to answer. Yeah, I mean, I think that Bryan is easily – it's hard for me to say top 5 because I have so much nostalgia over some guys. But if I – and it's in my – I have emotional ties to those guys because I just loved them as characters. I have an emotional tie to Bryan because I appreciate – him so much, so it's harder, it's harder for me to like. I would say easy top 10 for me. Easy top 10. I can't do top 5.
Only he could have like everyone crying and then chanting "That's what she said" when he was talking about
so good.
That was when. So he says, "What is he? Oh, like we're me and Brie are planning on having a baby." Blah blah.
Hopefully she says yes.
Right? Yeah, like the crowd chants yes, and then she goes, "Oh, that's usually what Bree says." And then everyone was like, "That's what she said." Like,
that was crazy.
That was phenomenal, man. Just hilarious.
All right,
that's what it is about him. Is just his natural charisma. Yes, he's not the greatest talker, but his body language, his storytelling in the ring, and just his natural conversations with the crowd is what endears him so much.
You know what it is? He's a nice dude that you could see yourself just hanging. Like, he's a regular guy you could see yourself hanging out with.
Exactly. He's an everyman. He's a common man.
But I don't think I could have hung out with Dusty. Like, he's just too dusty for
Dusty
me.
Was a star. Like, Dusty carried himself.
All right, Rich, what do you want to do now? Like, I'm just trying to, like. I don't think I could listen to Dusty talk to me and like think it's normal, All right, here's what we're gonna do. Like
it's like Joe Buck. How could you ever have a conversation with Joe Buck? Every time I'd be like, "Yo, why are you calling the play right now?" I don't say what's up, man.
I don't want legal action taken on me, so I'm not going to comment about Joe Buck and my hatred for him. But anyway, we'll move on. I mean, really, this has nothing to do with wrestling. I hate it when you listen to your commentary, your like sport commentary team all year long, and then when the playoffs come around, you have to endure these other guys.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't
just comes with the territory.
I want to hear my guys. I don't want to hear Joe Buck.
Yeah.
And Tim McCarver is the reason the Mets lost to the Cardinals.
He's
Scott
the reason a lot of
Spezio.
teams lost.
This guy hasn't done anything. He's doing this series. Boom, triple. Sorry. All right.
Anyway, back
any,
to stuff people actually care about.
So you want to transition to NXT or
Yeah,
last word?
TNA's on Tuesday, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Literally don't really remember much about what happened. I was half paying attention to it. Grado came out, he's supposed to be fired, and Eli Drake confronted him, so looks like he'll just be goofing around and be around for a while. Rockstar Spud came back and got in Matt Hardy's face defending EC3. Just a regular episode. I think Angle fought Drew McIntyre.
All right.
But not much. But see, I already know EC3 comes out and apologizes to Spud, and then in the main event of that week, Spud turns on him and joins Matt Hardy. So
Wow.
it's just they're just stacking the deck really against EC3, which is kind of funny.
Huh. Next week I have off. I will watch it before we tape. I will watch it.
Yeah. So then Wednesday, Lucha Underground was good as always.
El Rey, come to Cablevision, please.
They had an intergender match, so it was Cobra Moon against some guy, and she won obviously. Then your boy Jack Evans wrestled Drago.
Nice.
So that was a pretty good match. And then they had a last lucha standing with Phoenix and King Cuerno, and that was just ridiculous.
I want to be able to watch it. It's just not.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's a pain. I don't want to get myself in any trouble for finding
illegally downloading things.
Let's see. Do you want to do NXT first? Or you want me to jump in with Ring of Honor?
No, you can go to NXT.
So you had the defense, the besties finally wrestling each other.
Bay Mella.
And now correct me if I'm wrong. So Bayley keeps the title and wins the match. And I thought it was a pretty good match. I mean, I don't think Carmella's at that level. She's good she's good, but
it wasn't bad. Yeah.
When you're accustomed to watching Charlotte and Sasha and Becky, it's
Asuka, Dana, Emma.
I don't want to say a drop off. I don't want to say that because it's not. She's not bad. She's not. It's just
she's not on that level yet. No.
Yeah. And then
I think that just comes with time being under Sarah Del Rey and training at NXT, because I don't think all of those divas were the phenomenal wrestlers and talents that they are now. Not all of them,
Okay. Do you and then there was a schmozzy ending, but I can't remember. I believe after what's her Eva and Nia Jax came in.
Uh-huh.
At the end and kind of laid a smackdown on the faces. So I think this will kind of keep going. Maybe they'll have
probably have a tag.
Yeah.
I've heard though that Enzo and Cass are not long for the main roster though.
Although I've been waiting for this moment, I'm gonna be upset if it happens. At this
when it happens and fails or something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my big thing. If it fails, I'm just not gonna be happy.
No.
So I'm really hoping.
I mean, they're good. They're good wrestlers. They're entertaining guys. So hopefully they get over at some extent, even if it's as comedy guys. There's a spot for that. And you can have a long career in that. So we'll see. Hopefully they're successful. We're all rooting for them to be.
Just scares me when the possibility of Goldust and Truth are getting airtime. I almost is the tag team division too full for them to come up to the roster?
Not even close. But there's just. Not that there's not a spot for them, but they need when they come up, they can't just wrestle the Ascension. they have to, have some angle. So who knows? Maybe we'll get something for Mania. Maybe we'll
Maybe
get
that's why they
something
did the
right
Dudleys.
after Mania.
Maybe that's why they turned the Dudleys.
Maybe.
Have these come out,
maybe, and
Dudley,
then they beat the Dudleys at WrestleMania or something.
Bubba's very New York, right? He can
I don't
get
think the Dudleys can face the New Day, so.
Exactly. So you have Enzo and Cass come up, they come out, they do their shtick, and then the Dudleys come out, and be like, I've been wrestling in New York before you have, and I can see it kind of like them getting like extra New York. I still think that if you're gonna have them come out, I think you need to have them come out somewhere where people are gonna pop for them. So,
well, yeah, but at this point, people watch NXT, so hopefully wherever they come out, it'll be. But it doesn't have to be New York. It can be Chicago or LA or Florida or it can be other big cities that
that'd be a smart city.
Know. Yeah, exactly.
Philly would be like that.
Somewhere that is smart, So whatever, we'll see. But
because I don't think you do.
Hopefully they'll be okay.
You don't do that the Raw before the last Raw before Mania is going to be at Barclays, but
it's too packed.
All right, I think Elias Sampson wrestled, but I don't.
Yeah, he wrestled Jesse Sorensen. He won. The Hype Bros wrestled 2 guys. They won. Enzo and Cass had a backstage segment with American Alpha. That was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. I do love Reddy Willing and Gable.
American Alpha is really good, and they've really hit a stride. Like they're funny, they're good, they're entertaining. So hopefully they'll be. I think they could take the titles off Dash and Dawson whenever they decide to have that match, and then Dash and Dawson can come up or whatever.
It's like selfishly at this point, I don't want anyone to leave NXT. I just want them to stay there because I like.
But every time they just replenish it, so it doesn't. The Ascension were the biggest thing in NXT. Who cares? So is Bo Dallas. Who cares? Neville was awesome. All right, he's gone. Owens was awesome. All right, but as long as they're somewhere, I don't really care.
I just don't want them to. I don't want them to get Adam Rosed.
Well, at least he's found a little spot now for the time being.
Man, but that Party Express was so enjoyable. It's a shame.
Yes, for the first week.
All right. So Ring of Honor, I don't understand what's happening with how things are working out on their TV schedule. It seems that they have jumped a week from what I'm seeing when I went to go watch, but
yeah, what did you? So what? Yeah, what were the matches?
So what I watched was you had. Hold on, I'll pull it up right now. All right, so what I watched was Leo Rush, part of the Top Prospect Tournament. This little guy defeated this Jason Kincaid. It's kind of like burly guy with he kind of looks like a Highlander.
Yes. Okay, so you watched the Young Bucks versus ACH.
Yes,
and Evan Bourne. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, because that's when I went to Ring of Honor Wrestling. That's what I saw, and I was trying to see if that was the correct one or not.
And the week before, so last Thursday, I watched Roderick Strong and Masada. I watched Red Dragon versus Lethal and Cole. All right, but when you look up the results for this last week, every website lists this other episode with Shelley taking on Kazarian and Dalton taking on Joe Diesel or Joey Da Diego, who's part of the House of Truth. So it's very odd. It's like
maybe they just mixed up next week and this week on the website.
The website skipped one. Yeah. So I'm just
maybe they'll play it next week instead.
Yeah. So
I just had the schedule backwards or whatever.
They're building towards the 14th anniversary. The one thing that I really liked was, I think it's comical that the decade is still a thing when it's 2 people with Paige and Whitmer, but basically,
but it won't be.
Whitmer's talking trash, and he's he calls Carino out, and Carino's out there, and he's actually talking about how he's going to get him, and then suddenly Carino says something like, one thing I've learned is it's always important to have eyes in the back of your head, and then Paige actually attacks Whitmer. So I legitimately don't like Whitmer. When I normally like a heel, I don't like Whitmer. I want to see him lose. It's not even because I'm like passionate about Carino, although I love his super kick party. But not to worry, he's lent that to Mr. Wrestling number 3. But I want to see Whitmer get his comeuppance. So I'm actually kind of excited to see Paige take Whitmer on. And then Briscoe.
That should be good.
Mark
Speaking
Briscoe,
of good,
guy. Yes.
If you're not ready by now, I guess
Here we go.
will be special delivery.
This is the moment I've been waiting for. Everybody out there get ready for the man. I'm ready. I'm going to get down with the biggest thing in town, King Kong Bundy and the Stoop, the Music Man. Today is the day for me, baby. I'm going to get down for you. Get ready, baby. Buy your hats. Buy your thing. This is the biggest in wrestling history. We're going to get down today, baby.
All right, special delivery Jones.
He got down.
Yeah, you're going to get down
really
right.
quick in under a minute. So thank you for that. But
It just
amazing.
came on as I was watching it. Sorry.
I'm excited for the 14th anniversary show. I've been writing about how the main event championship match should be interesting. I think that this might be a time that maybe
We're getting a new champion.
Yeah, I think the belt comes off Lethal.
Yeah, 100%.
I think the smart move here is I think you have to have Cole. Cole cheat. Cole comes away with the pin. I think.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Because Kyle
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly has to be in the chase.
Yeah,
I just wonder what happens.
Lethal will do something, and then O'Reilly will hit him, and Cole will catch O'Reilly or whatever. He'll get the win on O'Reilly, though. That's what I think.
Hopefully we're right. I mean, it's almost a crime, it seems, to have Lethal drop its
Again,
trap.
he can't be the champion forever, though.
Unfortunately. That's the short and brief Ring of Honor
So
recap.
Last week I had 3 questions of my own that I doubt you know the answer to any of.
Okay.
But they're kind of fair. They're about like title reigns.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. Who has the most world title reigns? World, not WWE. World title reigns in WWE history. And how many?
So you're
Just the world title, not
okay.
big gold belt.
I feel like Randy Orton. Oh God, it's not. I'm just gonna go with Orton.
Well, no, you're wrong on that. So
I'm wrong on
guess the
Orton.
weeks, the reigns. Yeah, the world title.
God, I mean,
Where was the world title mostly on?
yeah, SmackDown. Is it Edge?
Okay, yes. Take a stab in the dark. How many times?
How many times did Edge have it? Let's go with 6.
Oh, 7.
7?
All right. Youngest Intercontinental Champion.
Who has the most Intercontinental reigns?
Youngest Intercontinental Champion.
Oh.
23 years old.
Drew McIntyre?
Nah, Jeff Hardy. And
Really?
This one is literally impossible. I just thought it was funny. Who is the shortest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions? It's literally impossible.
The shortest reigning tag team champions?
Yeah, literally impossible.
It's not the Rockers.
No. Literally, there's no way.
Hint?
They're not a tag team.
Jesus.
They wrestled each other at WrestleMania. In a WrestleMania main event.
Whoa. In the Mania main event.
Yep.
Could you give me? Is it between 1 to 10, or is it like after that?
After that, it's from 22 on.
From 22 on? Uh, Orton? No.
John Cena is one of them.
I wish this wasn't radio so you could see my face. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's why I knew that wouldn't really help you because he's been in every one of them.
So, I mean, I don't know.
The Miz. Want to take a stab at how long the reign was?
3 days?
14 minutes.
That's ridiculous. There's no way.
I just found I don't know, I was trying to look something up and I saw the website and I was just like, all right, got it.
Well, great. Well, let's never do that again because you stumped me each time. All right. Well, I think that's it for the week.
Yeah, that about does it.
Short. All right. So as a reminder, guys, you can find us over on the lastwordonsports.com. You can find us actually on the wrestling page, directly linked there. You can find us on Last Word on Sports Radio on iTunes. You can also find us on the Wrestling to the Max network, actually under W2M. Make sure you go over and take a look at the Wrestling to the Max group on Facebook. They post a lot of wrestling news. Pretty exciting to follow them and informative. You can email us directly at runningwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us your tweets, which you won't, over at runningwildlws. And until next week, just reminding you that you have been listening to the podcast that is just too sweet.